There are truths that do not belong in the noise of the world, not because they are forbidden, but because they are sacred. Some things in you were never meant to be explained, only honored, because the soul speaks a language that silence understands. In a world that celebrates constant exposure, choosing stillness is a quiet rebellion. You are not hiding. You are preserving the sacred. Have you ever felt it? That subtle shift after sharing something close to your spirit? As if something unseen pulled away, as if the energy around you no longer felt clean? It is not fear, it is knowing, a wisdom that lives in the bones of those who are waking up. You were not made to be fully known by everyone. Some truths are not meant to be spoken aloud, because once they enter the air, they shift form. They lose their holiness. They become open to interpretation or misuse. So if you feel drawn to solitude lately, if your spirit has been whispering for quiet, for fewer words and deeper presence, that is not withdrawal. That is alignment. And if you're here now, still listening, then something in you already remembers. Silence is not emptiness. It is a shield, a sanctuary, a sacred way of being. Let us walk together now into the 10 truths the awakened soul keeps in stillness, not out of fear, but out of reverence. Some truths don't arrive as words. They come as a sudden knowing, like lightning inside the chest. Too bright, too holy to be explained. This kind of wisdom doesn't ask to be spoken, it asks to be honored. When you try to hand divine insight to someone not ready to see, they won't thank you for the light. They'll flinch from the glare. You weren't given this truth to entertain others, to be picked apart or understood. It wasn't meant to impress anyone. It was meant to change you. Telling it too soon is like placing a crown on someone's head who only feels its weight, not its worth. Even with good intentions, others may twist what came to you so clearly into something vague, even harmful. Not because they're cruel, but because their frequency wasn't meant to receive it. There's ancient wisdom that says, don't cast pearls before swine. And a pearl, isn't that just pain, patiently turned into beauty, layer by layer in silence? So why throw it into hands that only know how to break things? You felt it before, that ache after opening your heart to someone who didn't know what to do with it. That quiet after sharing something sacred with someone who could only hear noise. That's not failure, that's guidance. The more sacred the knowing, the more sacred your silence must be. You're not here to shout truth into crowded rooms. You're here to walk with it, live with it, let it unfold on its own time. Not every message is for the masses, some are for the mission. So speak only when the soul stirs, not when someone asks. Reveal only what feels called forward, not what feels convenient. Your revelations are ancient keys, meant to open doors, not sit on display. Let them rest. Let them root deeper. And trust, the moment they're meant for will come. And when it does, the truth won't need defense. It will simply fit, like it was always supposed to. Because not everything holy belongs in the open. Some of it is meant to stay hidden until the soul that needs it appears. And remember, it's not just what you say that holds power. It's what you show, what you uncover, what you bleed. Not everything raw is meant to be revealed. Some things are still becoming sacred. Protect what is still growing. Guard what glows in the dark. And speak only when the wind within you whispers, now. To walk with light is to stir the shadows. The brighter you burn, the more the darkness notices. When you rise on the path of spirit, you become more visible. Not just to those who admire your glow, but to energies that seek to dim it. Every soul chosen to carry light carries cracks. This is not your shame. This is your humanity. But even sacred wounds must be guarded with sacred wisdom. Exposing your softest places to those not yet awake is like pouring holy water into broken hands. Not everyone who listens comes to understand. Some come to feed. Vulnerability in the spiritual world is not just emotional, it is energetic. It opens the gates of your field. And not every smile is sincere, not every gaze is harmless. There are those, sometimes unaware, sometimes very aware, who drink your sorrow like it's nectar. who store your doubts, your fears, to use them later like weapons. That's why your softness must be paired with discernment. You do not owe your healing to the crowd. You do not owe your breaking to the unready. Even temples, sacred and ancient, were built with walls, guarded by those who knew how to protect what was divine. So why not guard your soul the same way? Your tears, your unspoken battles, your silent unraveling. These are not for public display. They are for the few who carry reverence in their hands. Even Jesus, in his final hour of agony, did not invite the multitudes. He brought only a few, and still, even they fell asleep. This was not his failure, it was our lesson. Proximity is not proof of safety. Familiarity is not the same as spiritual alignment. Let time show you who can be trusted with your truth. Let silence be your filter before words become offering, because what you speak magnifies. And if spoken in the wrong room, it can echo in ways you never meant. Doubt, fear, longing, when exposed in front of envy, in front of spiritual blindness, can multiply. Not because you are weak, but because the environment was never pure enough to hold your pain. Guard your gates, guard your voice. Your openness is not weakness, but it must be sacred. Hold your vulnerability as you would a sacred scroll. Tenderly, reverently, and only unroll it when the divine within you whispers, "Now." This one is ready. Your cracks are not flaws. They are proof that you lived, proof that you survived, proof that the light had to break you just to get in. But when guarded with clarity, your wounds become wisdom, and wisdom makes you untouchable. You were never called to bleed in front of the crowd. You were called to heal in quiet and rise in truth. And when you speak, let it be from the healed place, not the raw wound. Let your words come from wholeness. Let your silence carry power, and let your light be untouchable. Every soul hums with a signature frequency, and yours, refined by trials, shaped by silence, tuned by truth, sings a vibration the world can feel long before you speak. It's not charm, it's not charisma, it's presence, and presence is power. But power without discernment becomes a feast for the unseen. When you walk with sacred fire, you become a beacon, not just to the lost who seek warmth, but to the hollow, to the hungry, to the ones who mistake your light for something they can consume. They don't arrive with fangs. They arrive with stories, with soft eyes, tired hearts, and empty hands. And before you know it, you're giving, again and again, pieces of your peace, sips of your stillness, echoes of your sacred breath. A friend who always leans but never holds. A seeker who praises your wisdom but never carries their own weight. A presence that leaves you drained, scattered, and unsure why your chest feels so heavy after they're gone. You tell yourself it's kindness. You tell yourself it's your calling. But let this truth settle. Giving without wisdom is not service. It's self-abandonment. Your light was never meant to be a free-for-all. It's holy, it's earned, and it should be guarded like the fire it is. Spiritual parasites aren't monsters in shadows. They're the unhealed in plain sight, the ones who haven't yet met their own soul. They're drawn to your radiance, not to honor it, but because deep within, they crave what they haven't cultivated. Their wounds whisper, their envy simmers, their energy clings. Pay attention. If after a conversation, you feel empty instead of expanded, uncentered instead of serene, don't dismiss it. Your spirit is speaking. It's telling you, this space is extraction, not exchange. You were never called to be a well for every thirsty soul. Even Jesus, who carried the fullness of divine light, withdrew. He rested. He chose. He didn't pour out endlessly. He poured wisely. So must you. There is power in limitation. There is love in boundaries. And there is sacred clarity in saying, this far, no further. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's sacred strategy. Every drop you give should come from overflow, never from your core reserves. Say no, without guilt, without over-explaining, without shrinking to make someone else comfortable. Those who are aligned with your spirit will understand. Those who are not were only ever meant to witness your light, not hold it. You cannot feed the world at the cost of starving your soul. and a malnourished spirit cannot carry the weight of divine purpose. So, step back when you must. Let your silence speak. Let your absence be your shield. Distance is not rejection, it is reverence. For yourself, for your path, for the sacred within you. You are not called to be burned out, poured dry, or endlessly accessed. You are called to radiate, to bless, to transform, but only where your light is honored, not harvested. Shine freely, but only where your glow will be cherished, not consumed. Some people speak to command attention, but you enter, and the air itself bends. Rooms hush, eyes rise without reason, emotions shift like tides. Not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. That's not accident, it's resonance, spiritual gravity. Your presence is weighty, not noisy, but known. It stirs what's asleep, it awakens what's buried, and sometimes it unsettles what's been hiding in others. Because you are not just skin and breath, you are vibration, you are frequency, the living echo of your soul in motion. And when that vibration is high, when it is clean, divine, undeniably aligned, it must be guarded, not from fear, but from understanding that not all responses are rooted in love. Presence is influence, and influence, when left unprotected, becomes a mirror for the world's projections. Some will see you and bow in reverence. Some will smile, but carry quiet resentment. Others will shrink in insecurity or bristle with invisible hostility. You won't always hear their words, but you will feel the shift, the sudden chill in conversation, the heaviness in a crowded room, the eyes that watch but never see you. These are not moods, they are spiritual barometers. They're telling you your light has been felt, and not all are ready to receive it cleanly. When you walk with sacred alignment, you disrupt the unconscious. You stir sleeping patterns. You shine into places some would rather stay dim. And that disruption either becomes someone's invitation to healing or their excuse for resistance. That is why your presence must be treated as sacred ground. To be selective in where you stand is not arrogance. It is preservation. Some environments may look harmless, but carry spiritual residue that clings. Rooms thick with gossip, souls wrapped in jealousy, spaces dulled by chaos or disconnection. They may seem mundane, but they corrode your clarity quietly. You enter peaceful and leave heavy. You arrive clear and walk away fragmented. Listen to your body, feel the whispers of your spirit. Where you go, your essence follows, and where it is placed, it either flourishes or fades. You were never called to be everywhere. You were called to be aligned, to be in rooms where your presence is respected, not resisted. And when the world feels too loud, solitude becomes your sanctuary, not as escape, but as recalibration. Every great soul has withdrawn, not because they were fragile, but because they knew the sacred must return to silence to remember its own name. Step back when you must. Let solitude strip the noise from your spirit. Let stillness wash you clean. In quiet, you gather what the world tries to take. You return to yourself. Not the roles, not the expectations, but you. You owe no one your constant presence. You are not a public fountain of spirit. You are a sacred offering. And offerings lose value when tossed to every altar. Be intentional. Be watchful. Not everyone who reaches for you deserves access. The sacred only remains powerful when it remains set apart. Your presence is not ordinary, so stop treating it like it is. Walk not into rooms just to explain yourself. Let your being speak. Let your silence testify. Because when you truly know who you are, you stop needing validation and you start offering vibration. And that is when you become untouchable. In a world addicted to sound, opinions shouted, truth debated, noise worshipped, silence becomes rebellion. But not the silence of fear, not the silence of passivity, the silence of mastery. As a chosen soul, your silence is not absence. It is anchoring. You are not quiet because you have nothing to say. You are quiet because you hear something deeper, because your spirit speaks in frequencies too sacred for common ears. When your presence is rooted in truth, You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to convince anyone or chase understanding. Let others fill the air with noise. Let them argue, demand, accuse. You are not called to echo chaos. Your silence already speaks. Louder than their volume, sharper than their logic, stronger than their grasp. There are moments when speaking is not wise, but wasteful, because words are more than sound. They are spirit in motion. They summon reactions, create ripples, forge unseen bonds. Not every emotion deserves a voice. Not every insight must be shared. Not every truth is meant to be spoken. To remain silent in the face of ignorance, mockery, or accusation is not weakness. It is restraint forged in divine fire. The world will tempt you. Defend yourself. Prove your worth. Explain your light. But those are traps. Traps for the unwise. Traps for the weary-hearted who forget that sacred things lose power when thrown into public debate. The moment you argue with noise, you descend into it. You lower your vibration to a level beneath your calling. Even the Christ, faced with accusation, stood in stillness, not because he lacked truth, but because truth does not argue with shadows. His silence became a mirror, a shield, a sword made of stillness. That same divine restraint belongs to you. You do not need to respond to every misunderstanding. Your purpose is not to educate every critic. Your path is not a platform for debate. Let them guess. Let them gossip. Let them throw confusion into the wind. It will never land on you unless you reach for it. Silence becomes your invisibility cloak when visibility would only invite harm. Sometimes your silence is protection, other times it's revelation, because in silence, wisdom comes. When the outer noise fades, the whisper of the Spirit becomes thunder. Discernment sharpens, clarity rises, instruction flows like water from the unseen realm. Heaven does not shout, it whispers, and only those who honor silence can hear it. Your silence becomes a tuning fork, aligning your soul with divine rhythm. You begin to hear what cannot be spoken, feel what cannot be touched, know what cannot be taught, and in that knowing, your authority rises. Not because you claim it, but because it's recognized. The enemy loses access. Energy thieves lose grip, and suddenly your stillness becomes your sword. So practice silence, not as avoidance, but as discipline, as sovereignty. In a world addicted to broadcasting their every thought, be the one who guards their soul. Let your silence unsettle. Let your stillness convict. Let your restraint reveal what noise tries to bury. Because when you finally speak, after being silent, after standing still, after hearing heaven, the world will have no choice but to stop and listen. Discretion is not secrecy born of fear. It is wisdom born of reverence. In a culture obsessed with visibility, with likes, shares, and performative transparency, you must remember not everything sacred is meant to be seen. As a chosen one, there are parts of your journey too holy to be displayed, too tender to be touched by careless eyes. The world tells you, show more, prove more, be more seen, but the Spirit whispers a higher truth. What is divine must be protected. You are not hiding, you are honoring. Your revelations, your instructions, the moments of fire that descend upon your spirit, they are not for spectacle. They are not content. They are blueprints of your becoming, and blueprints are never shown mid-construction. When you speak too soon, when you unveil a vision not yet rooted, you invite winds that were never meant to blow against it. Even words spoken in joy can be intercepted by hearts not meant to hear them. Not everyone will harm with intent, but even passive doubt, subtle envy, or casual misunderstanding can fracture what heaven is building in you. Your progress is a tender flame. It flickers in the early stages, needing shelter, not applause. And if exposed too soon, to noise, to commentary, to the world's projections, that flame can die before it becomes light. Your dreams don't need spotlights. They need soil. Your revelations don't need audiences. They need roots. There are divine alignments, friendships, partnerships, plans that thrive in hiddenness because hiddenness protects holiness. Not everything sacred is meant to be seen. Not yet. When you publicize every plan, every connection, every whisper from God, you open sacred ground to spiritual interference, because the unseen realm listens too. And every premature revelation can become spiritual ammunition in the hands of unseen resistance. Move quietly, build privately. Let your fruit speak when it's ripe. The success born in silence carries a spiritual authority that loud announcements never can, because it wasn't born from performance, it was born from process. Even holiness is not just in your prayers, it's in your boundaries. It's in your ability to say, "This is mine and heaven's, not yet yours to see." When you treat your life as sacred, others begin to do the same. Discretion becomes your energetic armor. It teaches the world how to honor what you carry. It becomes a force field around your purpose, not to hide it, but to strengthen it before it's unveiled. In stillness, you preserve power. In quiet, you cultivate depth. In discretion, you prove to both realms, seen and unseen, that what you carry is too holy to be handled carelessly. Let your silence hold the sacred. Let your privacy protect the promise. Let heaven reveal what must be revealed when it's ready to stand in its full light. Until then, walk in the hidden, guard the flame, and trust the timing of God. Spiritual power without emotional mastery is like a sword in the hands of a child, sharp, unsteady, and dangerous to both the wielder and those nearby. You were not chosen just to awaken divine gifts. You were chosen to carry them wisely. Gifts without governance become curses. Insight without inner sovereignty becomes confusion. Anointing without emotional discipline becomes chaos dressed in spiritual language. The path of the called demands more than revelation. It demands rule over your inner realm. Your emotions are not the enemy, but they are also not the guide. They are messengers, not masters. Signals, not shepherds. When you do not govern them, they govern you. They hijack clarity, distort discernment, and push you off the path of divine timing. To walk in spiritual authority, you must learn the quiet art of internal dominion. Not suppression, but awareness. Not denial, but divine governance. Mastery begins when you stop reacting and start observing. You must learn to stand inside your own emotional weather and ask, what is this really revealing? Anger, sorrow, fear, even joy. Each carries a code, a mirror, a map to your subconscious beliefs. Is your anger the voice of unmet expectation? Is your anxiety a symptom of your grip slipping from control? Is your sadness a signal of disconnection from source? You must trace the fruit back to the root, because most reactions are echoes of old wounds, not present truth. Awareness transforms emotion from a flood into a current, one you can navigate without drowning. Even the great ones stumbled here. Moses, beloved of God, led a nation by divine power, but forfeited the promised land over a single moment of unmastered emotion. One act of anger, one disobedient strike when he was asked to speak in faith. His gift was not revoked, but the fullness of his destiny was deferred. Why? Because emotion, when it overrides divine instruction, rewrites your outcome. Let this not be your legacy. Power submitted to spirit builds kingdoms. Power driven by emotion breaks foundations. When your emotions rule you, your discernment fogs. You confuse assignments with distractions. You act from offense rather than obedience. You say too much, too fast, or shrink when you should roar. But when you become anchored, you become a vessel the divine can trust. A pillar, unmoved by storms. A compass that points true regardless of circumstance. Life will test you. People will try to provoke you. Even your own doubt will whisper betrayal. But when your soul is still, your sight becomes clear. You move with precision, not impulse. And in that stillness, you reclaim power not from domination, but from inner alignment. You won't need to apologize for moments you lost control, because you'll no longer lose it. You won't backtrack on decisions made in emotional fog, because you'll now make them in divine clarity. This is the unseen strength of the truly powerful. Unshakable emotional maturity. Not coldness, not detachment, but a rootedness so deep, even the winds of chaos cannot pull you from purpose. Your influence will grow not because of what you say, but because of the stillness behind your eyes. because your presence will speak what your emotions no longer need to. This is what heaven trusts. This is the frequency of the called. So govern your inner world, rule it with reverence, and you will walk in a power that does not just move mountains, it reshapes destiny. Spiritual safety is not found in escape, not in walls, not in withdrawal. It is forged through wisdom, cultivated in stillness, preserved by discernment. Every secret you withhold in reverence becomes a shield. Every silence you choose in alignment becomes a sanctuary. You may walk among crowds, but you are guided by laws the world cannot see. You live not by noise, but by knowing. These secrets, they are not about hiding. They are about honoring. Honoring what is holy, what is forming, what is too sacred to be handled by unready hands. Let your life speak louder than your lips. Let your presence echo louder than your posts. Let your energy arrive before your words ever do. And above all, let your connection to the divine become the filter for every word you speak and every mystery you keep. This is how you stay spiritually safe, not by fear, but by fidelity to the sacred, not by silence born of shame, but by discretion born of depth. You are not just protecting your destiny, you are preserving the frequency that allows it to unfold without interference. And so, walk quietly, but carry fire. The unseen knows who you are, and now, so do you. If this message stirred something ancient within you, it wasn't by accident. You were guided here, not just to hear these words, but to remember who you are. So if you felt seen, if you felt spoken to without being named, then this space was made for you. Subscribe and stay connected to the frequency. Like this video if the silence taught you more than noise ever could. Comment below. I choose stillness over noise. I protect what's sacred. Let the unseen know you're listening. You are not alone. Others like you are awakening, and together we move differently. This isn't just content. This is a calling. Stay hidden, stay holy, and I'll meet you in the next revelation.